I wanted to talk about some of the antecedents of the medium is this. In your corpus, I would include I, Other Than Human, Theodore, and The Honey of Common Summer. But I was thinking about it, and I think that this is, I don't know if I would put this in the top tier of your plays with Janie Fitz and Beechwood Park, Lesser Weathers of Beethoven, Turns Out to Be Here, maybe some others that I'm forgetting at the moment. But I would certainly put it in probably the second tier. I think that it is certainly a great play, and it does a lot with what it uses. But I do think it's richer than those three that I just listed. I think that it's deeper and more mysterious than I, Other Than Human. I think it cores into the main characters better than Theodore does, and I think it does surrealism, not necessarily at the same level of The Honey of Common Summer. We're going to get to in some of the evocations of Bergman that A Honey of Common Summer has struck in, and when we talk about your next play, the Brute Material, which I think is probably persona with a sense of humor, would probably be the best way to sum up that play.
And the question, because
the question is that these are the antecedents. Do you think that this is a correct correlation, and then where do you go from there?
I mean, I think I mentioned in earlier videos with Jessica, one of the things is once you get to a level where you have gotten consistently good or great at something, there's always a kind of, I don't know, boredom, not boredom. I know sometimes Jessica said when she's read my books, she knows that they're great and whatnot, but she knows that I'm so good that it's hard to surprise her. And the same thing happens when I read Jessica's work, is that it's so good. That doesn't mean I appreciate it, don't appreciate it, I do. But that's one of the reasons I try to always mutate and go to different ways. The play that I'm going to start in a few days is going to be my second Tetramal play. And I'm going to go back to a very in-your-face, very raw, violent thing with that, as I had with the first play, although it's not going to be as sort of I guess.
Well, I sort of know what you mean when you're talking about, for just as a reader, I get tired of the Danny Wagner character in these plays, but when you have a play like these Lesser Weathers of Beethoven, or It Turns Out to Be Here, those ones I think are very rewarding. Those ones do surprise because they're in many ways on a higher level than some of the other plays that you've written. Well,
the reason I'm doing the Danny Wagner thing is it's something that is closer, and I'm, like I just mentioned, I'm very tired, and so this job I have is very physical. When I was doing a lot of the earlier plays, they were a bit shorter, generally in the 20 to 25,000 word range, and they were not as deep. The last 8 or 9 plays, or 8 plays, now going to be 9, or no, 9 going to be now 10 that I've done since those 27. I think the overall quality is higher. So if I said the first 27 plays averaged out to be maybe a 96.5 out of 100, these plays probably average out to be a 98 or plus out of 100. And while that might seem nitpicky, I think that's a clear, there's much more going on in the plays. I mean, if you look at from play 1 to play 36, which is the play we'll talk about next, I mean, the density of meaning, of parallelism, of internal narrative, rhyming, narrative rhyme, if you know what I mean, things like that, is much deeper. If you look at the first 2 plays I did with the Megan Morrow and Valerie Vavello character, and then with my wacky family, they were very much in the O'Neill tradition, even though they were richer and deeper than even O'Neill's plays. These last 3 or 4 plays are deeper still. The one with the wacky sisters, this one we'll talk about. But I think if you were to read that just as a literary historian, I mean, you can just see how I'm constantly playing, turning things this way, that way, the other way. Um, when I was reading Chin's analysis of my elements of a story, I was I had forgotten about how much I had actually loaded into that, because in my mind, the central part was this email exchange I actually had with the guy who was on the E-list at the time, and I'd forgotten about how well written and interesting it was to juxtapose that with the DVD commentary on a porno film by Bit von Rheingold. But you can see that in my plays, in that long PDF that William Glass had scanned in of 3,300 plus pages of poems. You can see just by the typewriter and the different, you can tell which are the older and which are the newer poems there from 93 to '05. And you can just see how the newer, the older, or actually the ones in the '05, the last couple of years, are so much richer. Even the early great plays have a rawness to it. The early poems rather have a rawness, but that's good to do. You don't ever want to W.H. Audenize everything. I'm not going to go back and try to rewrite Tumbleweeds to make it more in line with a Norwegian The Family. That would defeat the purpose. I'm not going to go back and rewrite the first Valerie and Megan play to enrich it. Why would I? This stands as a document. They're outstanding works of art in their own right. And even when someone, who was it? Someone recently, oh, was it Laura? No. So someone on the E-list had told me they had just finished reading Tumbleweeds and whatnot. It might have been Laura Woods,
That
and
was Laura.
it was, and how she thought it was so poetic or something. And yeah, there is great writing in it. It's a great book, but it's interesting to see how the things evolve, and things get. I mean, in another 5 years, by the time I hit 60, if I make it to 70 or 80, and I'm not totally senile, and that's one of the reasons, keep on it, because you don't want to take a year off or 2 years off like these MFA fucks, because you're going to get fat. You're going to get intellectually fat, intellectually lazy, and that's when the rot seeps in. You have got to be, you have to be the Schwarzenegger workout fiend with your mind. You have to just do it, do it, do it.